What is going on YouTube? This is Jim back with another video. Here to give you guys my quick thoughts on Iron Man VR, the demo. It launched today, May 21st, 2020 here in the United States. And I got to spend some time this morning playing with it. Now, virtual reality is a chore to set up. And sometimes it's a chore to play. Particularly because the movement of your character is always so difficult to master. And even though you can press forward on an analog stick or press down the trigger on the PlayStation Move controller to walk in a direction, in first-person games, normal games that you play, like first-person shooters or even third-person adventures, typically you're looking at what you're walking towards. Now, there are some limitations where you can hold down a button to modify the way you're looking, so you're walking one way and looking another. Ultimately, this does become somewhat confusing in virtual reality because your situational awareness definitely is reduced because your field of view is much more tunnel vision. And it's been a problem for a long time. Skyrim is a perfect example of this. Skyrim VR, phenomenal to play. And as fun as it is to walk and look in other directions, it is very disorienting at times. Iron Man seems to have figured out a good balance between that type of free look and movement by allowing you to hover with your Iron Man suit. And what it allows you to do is to kind of slow down the game or to press a button and to pause it entirely, at least your movement, and hover and freely look and then kind of pick the direction you want to go and reassess. That's something that seems very trivial. It really does. But in honesty, it's a thing that I feel has been missing from virtual reality games for a really long time. So the movement aside of it, let's talk about, is it fun? And I can tell you that, to me, it is one of the better VR experiences I have had, particularly because you really feel like Tony Stark. And when the game starts, there's two little snippets. There's a training area that takes place outside Tony Stark's house in the middle of this kind of ocean area with rocks to fly through. And then it jumps to a story mission where you're flying around and being attacked in Tony Stark's jet. Both of those really kind of show off the gist of what you need to understand to play the game. Flying is very, very fun. It's your primary, I shouldn't say primary, it's your only mode of transportation. The game is very clear at the beginning that you can use the virtual reality standing up or sitting down, which I appreciated because a lot of us, myself included, do get VR sick from time to time. You lose your balance and you want to sit down. This game actually supports both methods, and the reason it does that so well is because of that kind of hover button where it allows you to stop for a second, kind of turn your head left and right without really feeling, like you're missing anything. So it's another reason why I think the control scheme is really well done. Basically how you fly is you have the PlayStation Move controller in your hand, and depending on if you're holding your hand like this, or like this, simulates the blasters that would be inside Tony Stark's hand. So imagine you're holding your arms out with your palm down at the ground, with your fingers pointing in front of you, and you just kind of rock your hand like this to determine if you want to move forward, back, left, or right. You then could use one or either hand to hold up the controllers in front of you with your hands in front of your face. That allows you to hold and shoot blasters out of your hand to shoot down enemies. You also have this like super punch that you do, which is just a very simple punching motion. So very simple controls, very intuitive. You see something you want to shoot at, you shoot at it. Once you figure out the hovering thing, it's really fun. And honestly, they did such a phenomenal job getting the move vibration right. It just has a nice gentle hum to it, and it really feels like you're in control of the jets, particularly when you turn on the boost. When you turn on the boost by double tapping that same button, you get a brief movement speed, the controller vibrates even more so, and you get a much, much faster rush of speed. So you're seeing some of that, kind of play out as I'm kind of playing through the first mission here while I'm talking to you guys. What I also really like about the game is that the graphics aren't overly corny. And look, I know that PlayStation VR is really more like PlayStation 3 graphics. That's kind of a given because there's so much processing power because the frame rate is so high in virtual reality. They had to make a trade-off somewhere with the PlayStation's limited hardware bandwidth. and they chose resolution, and they chose overall crispness. Sometimes you do get these weird artifacts in virtual reality games, but I have to say that Iron Man, I feel, did it very well. There are definitely a lot of painted on textures, this particularly in the opening scene of the first mission when you're sitting at your table on the plane. You can look down and you can see where there's just a flat panel of buttons that's supposed to simulate controls that you would have on an airplane seat. That clearly there's no depth to them, there's no ambient lighting to them, they're just a flat texture. Something you would see in like a PlayStation 2 game, or really like PlayStation 1, honestly. However, the stuff they choose to show you is detailed well enough that one, it's readily understandable what it is, but two, it makes sense. I feel like a lot of times with virtual reality games, again, drawing on Skyrim, which I've spent by far the most amount of time on in a virtual reality world, the problem is sometimes they get a little too overly detailed. Yes, you want to see and feel the world as best you can, but it seems like Marvel figured out that perfect balance between performance and between realism and between just that kind of cartoony look. And I think they did a really nice job with it. I was instantly blown away when I lifted my hands up immediately to see the gauntlets, to look down the front of my chest to see the Iron Man chest armor. When you're flying around the rocks and the water, have enough detail but not too much. They did a really good job balancing that. And what it does is the frame rate's never an issue. PlayStation won't let a game come out if it doesn't have a good frame rate. And you'll know right away because you'll get nauseous. But what they did really well is, because of that, there's not a lot of anti-aliasing. So you're not seeing a lot of white borders around things. They did a really nice job of not pushing the PlayStation VR to its limits, just getting it kind of close, and then having a little bit of flexibility so that it does kind of smooth out the image. So I like that. Lastly, the story is really, really interesting, the little bit I got to play. And the missions make you feel like a superhero, which is exactly what this game is trying to do, and they absolutely nailed it. You're sitting in your airplane, you're flying home from some business conference or something. Pepper comes in to talk to you. This alien drone-looking thing, well, it's not an alien, it's your drone, which has somehow been manipulated against you, is flying outside the airplane window and then blows a hole open in the airplane. And you get sucked out into space, and you're free falling down to go get your suit. Well, you don't get sucked out, you jump out, but whatever. As you're flying down towards the earth, you stick your hands out, the gauntlets snap into you, the helmet snaps into you, and you transform into Iron Man. And then you turn around, you see the jet flying off on the horizon, you fly off after it and begin attacking these enemy drones with your blaster. It is so incredibly fun. It really, really sells it. The music ramps up at the right time. The sound effects ramp up at the right time. Everything about this game just feels like Iron Man. They've absolutely nailed the tone and the feeling. It feels like you're playing a movie. And I am so incredibly grateful that somebody took time to take a very trusted and very really valued license, particularly with Iron Man, especially since, of the rise of the Marvel movies, to take that and to really cultivate a phenomenal experience that, to me, at least from the little bit I played, definitely has good voice acting, definitely is a believable plot, and makes you feel like you are the star, which is what virtual reality, I think, always has needed to do to break away from the day-to-day, just simple port. I never really felt, and although you do get immersed in a 3D world and you look around and you're in it, you can look down at your feet, you could hold your hands in front of you, knock things over, you could throw things, whatever you want to do, you can have fun with it. However, that gimmick quickly wears off. And very soon your brain adjusts that this is the way things are meant to look. Probably like the first time you saw high definition television, or the first time you saw HDR, when you saw like an extreme difference in lights and darks on your screen. It blows you away initially, but that wears off. Virtual reality, that ooh and ah virtual reality, it wears off. I'm telling you, I've had the thing for 4 years. I can attest to this. What it does, though, that's so different about Iron Man is it's constantly reinventing how you feel as Iron Man. Jumping out the window and flying around was cool. That was different. That's not something you typically do and feel that rush. Then as you're fighting enemies, then you have to go fix the plane. Then you have to go fix another part of the plane. Then you're flying around and Pepper is like kind of standing next to you. You kind of have your arm around her as it kind of fades to black for the end of the demo. It really does make you feel like you're doing something. The way that you take your hands and rip open the landing gear and bend this piece down to get the flaps on the airplane to work. It's cool. They did a really good job with it. I could say that when I first heard about Iron Man VR, I was like, oh great, another virtual reality game that I'm gonna buy and throw on my shelf, like Skyrim. I'll play it a little bit here and there, but it's not something that I feel like I need to do. This game drove me to want to go get this, and I'm gonna pre-order this, and I wanna play this the day it comes out, and I wanna re-experience it, and I didn't uninstall the demo. I want my wife to try it, but I wanna play it again. I wanna go do that flight level again, flying around behind the airplane, because it's really, really cool. So major thumbs up for me on Iron Man VR. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found some of my opinions informative. Leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts on virtual reality. Let me know what you think about that Batman game that came out a long time ago. I skipped that one because I heard it wasn't that great. I don't think people will be making comparisons like this one to that one. I think virtual reality has definitely progressed to a level that it's ready for prime time, and I think this is a great, great game for it. So with that, I'm gonna close out this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.